Now, I'm sure that everybody out there is very well aware about what Kathleen Kennedy has been up to with the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew series, and how John and Dave are basically really doing everything in their power to at least make both shows decent shows on Disney+. I'm not quite sure if even their aid on both series are really going to save them, but we'll have to wait and see. They are in control of roughly 40% of each actual show provided by Disney. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that they have been very busy with really incorporating a lot of Legends characters into the Disney canon, as well as shifting away from Kathleen Kennedy's tone of Star Wars. That's what John and Dave's overall structure is right now, with a lot of shows out there like Mando Season 4, the Ahsoka Tano series, and a whole lot more that's going to be announced, by the way, at Disney, of course, D23, I should say, and Star Wars Celebration. Now, Disney Plus, by the way, is really a streaming platform at this point in time where Bob Iger wants to make a lot of different revisions to how things will be formatted, to how Disney's going to be making Star Wars material, Star Wars content, whatever have you. And so the latest, what's really intriguing, is Kathleen Kennedy's outlook on the fans. And it's not the greatest thing that she recently said. It's more or less around the lines of a rant almost, in my opinion. But Kathleen Kennedy has been, time and time again, really just kind of putting the fans down, putting George Lucas down as a creator, really expressing that she has no care in the world about what the fans have actually done for the franchise. It's the hardcore fans that really brought the franchise, to where it was at a very successful point. Now, of course, with Disney and Lucasfilm gearing up for some big announcements at Celebration and D23, Bob Iger recently has been making big adjustments to Lucasfilm. However, in a recent interview, Kathleen Kennedy spoke out against the fans again and didn't have the brightest things to say about them by stating the following. When questioned about the Acolyte, "Myself and Leslie believe that we are making a difference with Star Wars by working on the Acolyte and doing something that ignores George's philosophy," she says. "The fans that feel that we are doing this on purpose because we hate or want to snub George, not in touch, of course, those are not in touch with the reality. We love the franchise and we feel there is not enough diversity in these projects, and this is the perfect outlet for us to express that. Any fan that tries to get in our way of succeeding these goals are truly not fans, and are stuck with George's vision of Star Wars, which really needs to change. It's in my best interest to not listen to the fan base, and what they even have to say when offering opinions, because it always goes against my and Leslie's vision of what Star Wars should be." So, I want to just stop here quickly about what Kathleen Kennedy is saying. Again, it's all about the whole diversity card again, and I've said this and pointed this out several times. I never understood this whole diversity thing by Lucasfilm or even by Hollywood in general. I mean, you look back at the original Star Wars trilogy, you have people in there like Lando Calrissian, one of the best characters out of the entire franchise. You have other characters, that were also done in a very specific way, just like that in the prequel trilogy movies. It's just something that obviously is being pushed by as an agenda, and that's why the Acolyte, I believe, is not going to meet expectations at all on Disney's front, because this is focusing less on character development and story, and more so on a specific agenda, right? Now, when you look at stuff like this, alright, Kathleen Kennedy obviously saying out loud that she wants nothing to do with George's vision, that she feels that it needs to be pretty much ignored and moved along. And in my point of view, alright, maybe a small portion of you disagree, but I feel that Star Wars is George Lucas. I mean, Star Wars really is George Lucas's vision. When you look at the original trilogy, that's Star Wars. When you look at the prequels, that's true Star Wars too. Even though it did get a bad rap back in the day, you gotta look at it as a different style. It was an Elizabethan style format. Almost like, a play in some areas, the way it was acted. That's what George said and how he wanted to approach the prequels. And yeah, when you look at the Skywalker saga, each trilogy, you could view it as a different style per se. But to me, whenever George was involved with the originals and the prequels, it felt more Star Wars-like than the sequels ever would be. Now, that's of course diving into what Kathleen Kennedy also has to say here. She states, right now it's about creating new fans. That's my priority, to evolve this brand. And this franchise doesn't need hardcore fans. It's not just about the toys or the collectibles and comics that fans endure. We need to express diversity and other issues that have not been achieved in the film industry, and it is all going to be provided in the Acolyte. And I couldn't be more proud that this is the most diverse Star Wars project in history. We really are going all out on this to make sure it represents everybody from the typical norm. The typical norm? Okay. Star Wars has been stuck in limbo with Lucas's outlook on the franchise, and it seriously needs to change and shift tone away from all of that. This series is about waking up existing fans and creating new ones, and it's going to be the thrill of a lifetime. I just cannot wait for everyone to see their reaction next year. I don't know if Kathleen Kennedy is being a little condescending in some areas here, but when you look at stuff like this, when she's putting it out there that you need to focus on new fans and how she's getting very defensive over the fans that just want a good story and good character development from its characters and its writers that are creating those characters, right? She gets very defensive about all of this whenever she's questioned about the Acolyte and how it's, you know, something that has been very controversial among the fans and even over behind the scenes with a lot of reshoots and rewrites. She gets very defensive whenever she's questioned about the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew especially, and so this is most certainly the main reason why, because it's all about shifting away from George and how she says that fans that don't want, you know, anything like diversity in these Star Wars projects aren't true fans. I never understood that either. You know, I don't think any fan is like that. Like, we don't want diversity. Nobody's really like that in the real world. It's really just pushing that agenda is what we do not want, because it becomes very unnatural. It comes off as just very lackluster, because then you get people that aren't necessarily fit for the role of some character choices, you know, acting-wise. Without that, that specialty, that gift of acting. That's why I felt that, there were a lot of great examples in, shows out there before in the past when a lot of fans had controversies and, criticisms over the character of Reva. A lot of people just did not like the actress and the way that she was acting, and Lucasfilm really took it on people that it was because they didn't want her because of, the whole diversity thing. So, anyways, that brings us to where we stand today. It's practically getting closer to the end of March, and we're getting very close, by the way, to the 4th episode of Mando Season 3, Chapter 20. And so, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.